Good morning, Tanya. Welcome back to the stream. Looks like it cut off at some point, but it looks like it's going again. So the people are streaming through the park here. Just so happens the water's running, so we're gonna be walking around that. But it looks like they designated a speech to be on the other side of the building over there. So we're moving around to there.
At the Wharton School at Penn. Awesome. And he's really awesome. His name is Harold Anderson, and he's going to speak for us right now. Yeah, Harold!
Hello. Oh, okay, I'm here. Like she said, my name is Harold Anderson, OPC 17. I'm a rising senior at the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. And thank you. And yeah, I'm just gonna jump right into it. I'm happy to be able to join you all here today in this demonstration. I think living in this moment in America, I struggle on a daily with balancing the duality of just trying to be alive and having to live as a black
Sorry, I'm not answering your questions. I
in this country.
want to focus on
I never
the audio
lose sight of the struggle because it encapsulates the experience of black and brown people and shows what we go through every day. Breonna Taylor was murdered on March 13th. Breonna Taylor was murdered on March 13th while she slept in her bed. In 141 days, Brent Haskinson, Jonathan Mattingly, and Miles Cosgrove have not been arrested or charged for her death. And yet, an act has already been passed that would have legally prevented the circumstances that led to her death. In the midst of a global pandemic, Breonna's injustice and many others who have lost their life at the hands of police brutality and racism has given us a glimpse into the hypocrisy of our legal system in our country. That being said, I'd like to thank Youth for Black Lives and all of their partners for making this opportunity possible. I would like to thank my friends personally, Jameson, Savannah, Sabrina, for thinking of me and thinking of my voice when trying to put this event together. I think my spirit has been charged with intense feelings not only in this year, but in recent years. I felt nervous, anxious, anxiety, fear, determination, happiness, a bunch of different emotions. However, none of them has been stronger than the urge to get in front of the problems that we are facing and do what's right. For far too long, we've witnessed America prove time and time again that it believes black lives don't matter. But we all know black lives do matter. Particularly for me, what this country does captures my experience in our education system today. From my time in predominantly black public schools to my time in predominantly white private institution. My personal experience aside, I understand just being black puts me at odds to receive less opportunity, less resources, less access, less quality, less food, less infrastructure. The list goes on and on. In the year 2016, it was reported that school districts throughout Pennsylvania with the highest poverty rate received the third left state and local tax funding. Also in that year, in the city of Philadelphia, poverty rates for Hispanic and black residents and children were all reported to be 30 to 40% in poverty. Our children in 2016, 30 to 40% of our children lived in poverty. The state systematically underfunds children for being born into conditions they cannot control, simply because I'm poor and I'm black. It discriminates against black and brown communities, especially those of lower socioeconomic status, that have already been ravaged by years of redlining and housing discrimination. These are just one of the many external factors that play a role in how black and brown youth are marginalized in our education system. Compile this on top of factors that we face internally. The lack of properly trained teachers, administrators, staff, coaches, assistants, the lack of resources, representation, agency, over-policing. Again, the list goes on and on. In the middle of 6th grade, when I recently transferred schools, within the first few days, I had an assignment to create a story about a fish. Upon reading my story, my teacher reconvened with another adult, and they came to the conclusion that I must have plagiarized the story because it was too well written. It took me a while to understand the dynamics at play here. I saw an environment that didn't believe we were capable of anything. On top of our only black male representation at this school being disciplinary figures, a predominantly black school and a predominantly black neighborhood had far too many teachers complacent in seeing us repeat generational curses, and they didn't feel obligated to do anything. Sorry. Even prestigious institutions of higher learning carry the stench of complacency in understanding the implications of need for black and brown students. There's no embedded agency for us, all while we undergo experiences of racism and supremacy. I can't even count the amount of times I've had to allow a white teacher or student to get away with diminishing my experiences, resulting in stereotype threat and imposter phenomenon. Even in high moments of achievements, these systems cannot be escaped. After I learned I was accepted into Penn, I had a fellow white student come directly to me to say how shocked he was the year I got in, and that he didn't think I was smart enough to get in such a school. Not too long after, a teacher approached me because another adult told her that I had applied to Wharton by accident, and she was making sure that I knew what I had done. And that this person could not have fathomed that I had in any way consciously made this decision, and that I had somehow mistakenly clicked through all the applications. It was experiences like this that quickly made me realize I have to be the change I want to be. If not me, then who? I've spent many years serving in the capacities of a mentor, volunteer, facilitator, donor, student, brother, teammate, any capacity possible that would help me make change. I told myself that if I am ever in a position to open doors, that I would never leave that place until I made sure those doors stayed open for the people coming behind me. These experiences made me realize that black and brown youth and people extensively are not how they are perceived by this education system, by the police, and by this country. Growing up, my friends and I were not a reflection of teachers who do not believe in us. We are not a reflection of how society is severely lacking in having empathy for our humanity. We have power and limitless potential in that power. I often think about the generations that came before me. I think about the spirit they found to make change, as the late Honorable John Lewis would describe it. The spirit to demand quality and equity in the face of fear and evil. The spirit to pick up the mantle from generations before them that carried the fight to justice. It forced me to question myself, when will I pick up the mantle? When I was young, I also thought that I had a constant fear of realizing this society would never change for disenfranchised people. A fear that we would have a perpetual hopelessness for a better future. I now know that that feeling of fear was actually the combination of realizing that I'll never forget the atrocities this country has shown to our community, and that I must fight to break the cycle. The spirit to never look away from the face of society that says our lives don't matter. To never forget that America has constantly reinforced this notion since the day it was founded. I've come to understand the American dream as the ultimate goal of complacency. The dream is not being able to work hard and pull yourself up into success. No, the American dream is to be able to live in this country and not feel it in the pit of your souls every day to burn it to the ground. America promised its children life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and let black and brown people barely with life. My name is Harold Anderson, and I grew up in West Philly. I spent a lot of my life on the same streets we traverse today, and it never occurred to me until recently that I will be marching on them in an effort to change the world. John Lewis once said, "I want to see young people in America feel the spirit of the 1960s and find a way to get in the way." So find a way to get into trouble. Good trouble, necessary trouble. So to John Lewis, I will carry the spirit to make change, and I know it thrives with the youth. We are in a prime position to change the world. Whether it's marching, voting, educating, mentoring, petitioning, or just being active in your community and spaces, you're never too young to recognize your power and agency as a human being. I stand with Youth for Black Lives because I feel the spirit with you all here today. With all the youth that are striving to make change, the direction of the future will now be dictated by those who have been left out of the conversation for too long. Our lives, past, present, and future belong to us, and we refuse to stand idly by while this country continues the streak for racism and supremacy. Part of Lewis's final words, may his soul rest in peace, were though I may not be here with you, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe in. In my life, I have done all I can to demonstrate that the way of peace, the way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way. Now it is your turn to let freedom reign. It is our turn, and I truly believe we are on the verge of making history. It starts with me, it starts with you, it starts with us. Thank you. Okay, so give it up for Harold one more time. Our next speaker is at Roman Catholic. His name is Joshua, so I'm going to give the mic to him.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'd just like to thank all of y'all for coming out here today to support matters of social justice. My name is Joshua Story. I'm a rising sophomore at Roman Catholic High School. One thing about me is I've played chess my entire life. In fact, every black person has played chess their entire life. Like the black pawn, we've been forced to go last to the white pieces, always working harder to strive for success. These stories have been going on for too long. We've witnessed all these stories that have been on the platform, such as Black Philly Students, Black Mainline Speaks, and many more. Education within America is only an extension of the systemic racism that has built our country. A zip code should not determine the quality of education a child receives. A teacher should not be responsible for supplying their classroom with basic necessities. I come here today in frustration that Philadelphia's top performing public schools inaccurately show our true city's demographics. For example, going from Massman to Roman was a complete 180 for me. But however, one thing that they share, like many schools do to a certain degree, is ignorance. We all have ignorance. It's not a bad thing. The issue with ignorance is the unwillingness to learn afterwards. This hinders us from growing as people. Because unlike Corona, this isn't a disease that keeps us 6 feet away. This is one that keeps us grouped and stereotyped. This is the reason why I joined Black Philly Students and Philadelphia Student Union. Their goal is to make a better, safer environment for students of color, queer students, and everyone else in between. Let's make police-free schools. Let's teach the youth about racism in America. Yeah. Let's make change. Yeah. The time is now to take action. Our generation is strong, and already we have moved mountains and made our voices heard. As we continue to getting into the good trouble, like Jameson mentioned before, every conversation, intervention, and protest brings us one step closer to a dream of more inclusive and equitable America. Thank you to all the people in Youth for Black Lives Matter. Your efforts have brought these people here today. Philadelphia students, alumni, teachers, and parents, I hope that the action we make today will change the lives of tomorrow. Like chess, we will rise to success and be the Black kings and queens that we've always been. So let us put our fist up for justice. Thank you.
All's my life I has to fight. All's my life hard times like bad trips like
Next, we'll be hearing from Tiara Jenkins. Tiara just graduated from SCH Academy, and she's going to Holt International Business School next year.
Being Black. Saying that alone just put fear in our hearts, weight on our shoulders, and knots in our throats. Being Black in America means twice the work with half the time because our life expectancy isn't based on age. It isn't based on health or wealth or habit. It's based on chance. And I'm not talking about the chance that you wake up in the morning or even the chance that something as crazy as an aircraft falling from the sky takes you out instantly. But our life expectancy is based on the chances of us getting pulled over then killed, followed then killed, harassed then killed, kidnapped then killed, contained then killed, lied on then killed, and so much more. I have an endless list of the things I could say, like me making this speech and then being killed. Our lives, while unfortunately fetishized, are not valued. So we live in this country under these systems of oppression, figuratively chained by the ankles, taking the chance of being hurt or worse every single day, just by being Black. I'm sure many of you have seen the hashtag Walking While Black and others like it. Seeing those tags really forced me to think about how many things we are hindered from doing comfortably. Now notice, I said hindered from doing comfortably, but we've never been prevented from excelling, and they hate that because in the eyes of the system which we submit to, prosperity is painted white. How many of you have attended a PWI or are still attending PWIs? So our hashtag would be hashtag getting an education while Black. We have all experienced similar hardships like code switching every day, being a spokesperson for the Black community when you're the only Black person in the classroom, biting your tongue or refraining from acting on impulse out of fear of losing your education. As a young Black girl, I was forced to sacrifice my mental health and my happiness for a good education. I lost my friends at home because going to a white school supposedly made me think that I was better than them. My proper grammar and eloquence was a threat back in the hood. But at school, I stuck out like a sore thumb because that school was not made for me, nor was it made for my people. So the same way that we are not included in the we the people of the Constitution, we were also not included in the vision of the founders of these institutions. And they make us feel that every day. Black children, black bodies are sourced from these poor neighborhoods yet not supported in the ways that they need to be. Hashtag getting an education while black. The worst feeling in the world is feeling like you have no home. Not physical homelessness, but rather no matter where you go, no matter who you're around, no matter what anyone says to you, you're not comfortable anywhere. You don't feel like you know anyone, especially not yourself. And when the country you live in thrives on suppressing you and making you feel unwanted as often as possible, too many of us suffer through this so young and have no way to get help because we're expected to be strong and suck it up. But what does it take for us really to be heard? What does it take for us to be valued? For our lives to be more than the battery fuel to their sports playing machines? Having to protest like this as kids, seeing babies with tear gas in their eyes, our cities being turned upside down, bodies being left in cold blood because we want freedom, equality, better education and opportunities for our people. Why should we have to beg for basic human rights? But since we do, why not do it together? Now more than any time before, we need each other. And there are way too many dividers in the black community. Our best bet right now is to come together like this, on our best days, on our worst days, and every day in between. If we stick together like this, we can be more powerful than we know. So as we begged our suppressors for basic rights, I'm begging you right now. Please support each other. Stick together and help me break this cycle. Stand by each other. Pick up each other when someone falls. Celebrate every little victory. Because we already know it's hard enough for us to get the recognition we need and deserve. Yeah. In closing, I'll say this. Being black is truly a challenge. Getting an education while black shouldn't have to be an obstacle, but it's the unfortunate reality that we face. However, I can do it, so you can do it, and we all can do it. Because even with all the hardships we face, being black is truly a blessing. Thanks, guys.
Okay, everyone, I just wanted to say that we have some drinks up here and some snacks, so please stay hydrated and eat some chips because I don't want them. And we also have a voting registration table. Where is it? I can't even see it. This way. Please, like we said in our demands, use your right to vote. If you are eligible and did not sign up to get your voter registration, please do that over the table in this general direction. And next up, we have these shirts. There's free shirts. So please, because there's free shirts. So next up, we're gonna have a speaker from Central High School, my girl Shayla. Now Shayla is so involved and has a list of 10,000 things that I'm gonna let her talk to you about right now.
Let's go, Shay! Okay.
Hello, I'm Shayla, as Jalen said, and I'm a rising senior at Central. First off, it is not okay that a 2019 study found that 40% of Philly students do not have access to internet, and we're starting school virtually in September. How can we leave behind so many students and further widen the opportunity gap? Not achievement, but I said opportunity. But on the other hand, how can we ask black and brown students to go back to filthy schools filled with asbestos coming out of a pandemic? We demand that Philadelphia dedicate funds to the renovation and cleaning up schools, the purchase and distribution of necessary technology, and between black students and others has always been prominent. The Philadelphia Black Student Alliance recognizes that this lack of black representation is not unique to one school, but is a district-wide problem. And as we can tell from today, it's even bigger than a district, but it's systemic. Even though Philadelphia is majority black and has a public school district that overwhelmingly serves black students, our top schools still have black populations under 20%. Does that make sense? No! When I first started high school, I felt unwelcome at my school. I walked in every day with extra stress just because I was not willing to be quiet about the racial injustices in my school. I was not willing to shrug my shoulders to sly remarks, whispers of the N-word, group chats comparing black people to monkeys, and so much more that I cannot even remember or name. Masterman, the first high school I attended, deflected and is still deflecting from these issues today, claiming that they cannot lower their standards to accept more black students and that they must change the culture of their school before policy. No! Lowering standards is not necessary. We demand that we have black representation on admission committees. We demand it be required for black students to be on teacher hiring committees. When I transferred to Central, I was so excited to finally be around black students and teachers. And later on, I found out this school has similar issues to Masterman. How is it that my class's black population is over 10% higher than the next class's population? How do you go from 24% black to 14% in 1 year? It's so disheartening to talk and hear from alum who went to these schools when they remembered when the black populations actually mirrored the city's demographics with populations as high as 40 to 50%. Aren't we supposed to be making progress and improving our schools? Black Lives Matter means so much more to me that we should not be killed by the police, but it means the quality of our lives should not be lesser than. Schools play a major role in whether we make this aspiration into a reality. We demand that Philly schools address the history of racism, actively working to become anti-racist institutions. But you know what? We can march, protest, fight, bomb things, all we want, but we have to back it up with our vote. So y'all better go over to that table and register to vote. Vote that Joan. We all have to vote. But this seems to be the hardest part. And to be honest, I don't know why. It takes 5 minutes to register and 10 minutes to vote. Maybe people are disappointed by our leadership. But how can you complain about our current system when you refuse to register to vote? Are y'all mad about police funding? Are you mad about how Breonna Taylor's situation is being handled? Are you mad about the lack of accountability that there is for police? Well, guess what? We elect district attorneys that are responsible for holding corrupt cops and people in general responsible and making sure they get the time they deserve. We elect state and U.S. senators that pass laws that can hold the police accountable, similar to the ways we hold lawyers, politicians, and doctors accountable. We elect mayors and city council people who decide whether our city's funding goes to schools and our streets or to the precincts. Are you concerned about health care? Well, let me tell you something. 2 years after Obamacare was passed on the federal level, people in PA could not access free health care. And you know why? Because we did not elect a governor who would pass that bill. So there was millions of people who couldn't have access to free health care because we're not voting. Are y'all getting the point? Yeah. It's exhausting to constantly have to say, be safe, and worry about my brother's well-being, worry about if he gets gunned down in the street. Elected officials can either restrict the sale and purchase of weapons or they can allow it. Are you mad about black and brown people sitting behind bars, living their lives as legal slaves for small weed charges? The House of Representatives and the Senate has the power to make laws that can free our brothers and sisters who are sitting in jail. Their lives are being ruined while white kids who have pounds of weed and cocaine are being accepted to top universities and with clean slate. We cannot accept that reality. We have to vote for people who are willing to fight for us. People who made, introduced, and passed. Although judges do not write laws, they have the discretion to give that young black boy with a small weed charge probation instead of time. But we gotta vote for him. We call on all young people, all of you guys out here, to use your political power and elect representatives who value and advocate for black and brown lives. We embrace the importance of choosing leaders at the local, state, and national level who will demand equitable legislation that protects black and brown communities. Let's support the Youth for Black Lives demands and show the world what happens when we all vote and support each other. Thank you.
Okay, Shayla. Another round of applause for Shayla. So our final youth voice is coming from another OPC 18 and another student of the Wharton Business School, Evan Wilson.
How's everyone doing? Good? First of all, I want to thank the Youth for Black Lives team for inviting me here today. I also want to thank Harold for being an excellent mentor at Penn when I transitioned from Penn Charter to Penn. Now, when I was asked to speak today, I thought about what I've been told about black lives, what I've been told about my black life from my relatives, my elders, my mentors, and time again, I heard this idea of we want a seat at the table. I know you all have heard it. We want a seat at the table. And I got my first taste of that when I transitioned from public school to Penn Charter. I got to this table and I said, okay, this is where this opportunity is that everyone's talking about. And I got there, and much like these other students who've been talking about their life at predominantly white institutions, I experienced very similar things. I had to fight for my financial aid and earn my place at that school. My achievements were touted, my face was put on brochures, but at the end of the day, I still went home and watched my family struggle financially because I had to earn my financial aid. All of that culminated in my senior year, where I was told by the track coach at Penn Charter that I should be on the track team because he asked me if I get financial aid. And then he said, well, you should give back to the school with your natural athletic talent.
What?
And right then and there, I knew that this table that I was at was never built for me.
That's right.
This is not my table. This table that we want to seat at doesn't have any room for us. And then I went to Penn. And I was like, okay, maybe this is the table that I've been asking for. Maybe this is the table that I wanted. And I was greeted by students who told me, oh, you're from Philly? That's crazy. My parents told me not to go past 45th Street. When I heard that, I also noticed Penn police riding around campus, making the Penn students feel safe. But everyone who didn't look like the typical Penn student, or all the people who lived past 45th Street, were terrorized, brutalized, and continue to be on a consistent basis. At the same time, the University of Pennsylvania's endowment is close to $15 billion.
Ridiculous.
$15 billion. Now, to give you context, the school district of Philadelphia's budget is roughly $3 billion. The University of Pennsylvania has an endowment that's 5 times the size of the school district of Philadelphia's
And they don't
annual
pay
budget.
taxes.
And at the same time, the University of Pennsylvania refuses to pay pilots payments in lieu of taxes.
That's right.
And when we ask them, why aren't you paying pilots? Why aren't you giving back to this community that you gentrified, that you brutalized, that you terrorized? They say, well, we have community programs that take care of that. But let me ask you something. When COVID-19 hit, and there were thousands of Philadelphia students, like the speakers before me talked about, without internet access, without computers, who went without education for months.
That's right.
Where were these community programs?
That's right. They were quiet.
Where was the University of Pennsylvania to make sure that these students, when they went home or didn't go home because they didn't have a stable housing to live in, where was this University of Pennsylvania? This ivory tower where they have $15 billion in the bank but won't give to the city of Philadelphia.
Speak on it.
Time and time again, students from the University of Pennsylvania would meet with administrators and they tout their community programs, they tout what they're doing in the community, but time and time again we see where that fails. So right now we're asking for them to pay pilots, but we're asking for a lot more. We're asking them to defund Penn Police.
Absolutely.
We're asking them to take these police officers who, while at the same time the University of Pennsylvania didn't pay pilots to give students the technology to have classes when things went remote, the same police officers who brutalized those young Philadelphia students when they happened to wander on the Penn's campus. So when I'm looking at this table, right, this table that my elders told me, work hard to get a seat at that table, increasingly I'm understanding this table was not built for me. The people behind me, Youth for Black Lives, they built this platform for themselves. They built it for us. There are a lot of inspiring students where I go to school who are doing the same thing, and at other universities in Philadelphia and other high schools in Philadelphia. And we need to maintain this energy after we leave here today.
Absolutely.
It does not stop on Sunday morning at the protest. It does not stop when you sign a petition. It needs to be a part of your daily life. Reevaluate the systems that you're buying into when you go into certain careers or shop from certain places. It needs to be an action that's taken in your daily life. This is not a system that can be broken down with one protest. It cannot be broken down with noise. Like the speakers before me said, there are years and years and years of inequality that's been built up. When we talk about inequality, another speaker talked about the idea of technology in classrooms. When we look at the next 30, 40, 50 years of where the jobs are going to go, and we compare that to the fact that Philadelphia schools do not have universal access to computers, internet access, and technology, we're being fundamentally left behind by the system. As soon as we take 2 steps forward, they're taking 15 steps ahead of us. So when we ask for this money, when we ask for these measures to be taken, we're not asking for Band-Aids, we're not asking for programs that can benefit 30 students on the weekend. We're asking for the money to go to the right places to support our students. So I'm gonna wrap up today by saying what's been echoed by other speakers. If y'all are here and you're 18 years or older and you're not registered to vote or you're not planning on voting in November, please, please, please reevaluate why you're standing here right now. If you're not registered to vote, if you're not enacting the right that people have died for, then reevaluate how you're taking these measures in your daily life. I'd love to see all of y'all voting in November, but make sure if you're mailing in your ballots, get it in 3 weeks, 4 weeks early because you know they're trying to suppress our vote. Once again, I'd like to thank the Youth for Black Lives Matter team, thank all of y'all for being here, and have a good Sunday.
Everyone, we just want to remind you to keep staying hydrated. We do have water and I don't think any more Gatorade. Some water is over here, so please drink up. It's hot out here. So right now we want to start our open mic session. So we want to invite Black and Brown students to come up and give your own personal testimony. Talk about how you support our demands. It's really open for what you want it to be. Make it your own. So we want to have this brief open mic time, and I'll stand here and wait until our first person wants to come up.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tiana, and I am currently a student at Drexel University in Philadelphia. And thank you, Youth for Black Lives, for putting this together. Thank you all for coming out. And I'm here on behalf of Black at Drexel. I don't know if y'all have seen the Instagram pages coming out for every university and college that's around right now. And I'm also here on behalf of Drexel's Black Action Committee. And we're here to elevate and advocate for students and lift voices of those who have faced this oppression of Black lives, of people of color, in schools and universities, not even just in the city, but around the country and around the globe. For too long, Drexel has been an institution that welcomes the white and our affluent to their university, which is a predominantly white institution. As we've heard from all the speakers already, this is something that Drexel is not alone in. This is something that every school is facing right now, every university, every college, that is a predominantly white institution. On paper, Drexel has all of these wonderful values about integrity, diversity, and access, but that's on paper. And the reality is not that. We know that that's not the reality, and the reality is what is the concern. Black at Drexel has only been up for a month, but if you scroll through, there's already so many posts and so many tellings of people's experiences of what not being treated right by professors, by staff, and not being cared for by our university. They want us to give them money, and we're supposed to be feeling safe here, getting an education, and some people are coming all across the country, all across the world, pretty much to a second home that doesn't give a care about them. So there is no denying that there's been habitual disservice to all people of color at that institution, of Black people at that institution, by historically allowing students to experience racism academically, and our co-ops and internships being ignored by offices and being blatantly disrespected by professors. Black at Drexel has been sharing numerous stories, and Drexel's Black Action Committee has been fighting for this quote-unquote seat at the table that does not exist. And you're right, because this table is not our table. We need to break this table and build a new one. And it's the same thing that we need to do with our cities and our government right now, because they're not going to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. And in this dawn of active anti-racism, we expect better from faculty, students, and staff. We expect to no longer be satisfied with being given Band-Aids for bullet wounds that they have been letting bleed for centuries. We want our universities, our schools, and our colleges to be able to look itself in the eye and say that it was wrong, that you are wrong, that we deserve better, and that without addressing disparities the students of color face daily, just by being Black in America, you are doing the biggest disservice to all of your students. So we will continue to post our stories, we will continue to engage in our community and demand better from those that hold power and influence at our university, and we hope that you do the same. In doing this, our goal is that Drexel will actually be able to fulfill its mission of being an academically comprehensive and globally engaged institution for every person that steps foot on this campus. We want Drexel to be safe for our people, and we want Black students to be able to actually say that they had an equitable chance at life. Because we're not fighting for equality anymore, we're fighting for equity.
Hi, I'm Justin, and I'm one of the kind of organizers of this march. And I just wrote a poem last night, literally at like 12 a.m. I was packing, trying to like get ready to go today, but I wrote. I watch their eyes as they glide across my skin, my hair, my form. My lips meet my hips that distract and dip me into shame. We share a fear, yet it is not identical. As we disrupt and unmask the mistrust between us, we are instead met with our caskets. Empty acids and cassettes can't cure what has been ongoing. It grows and grows. They scold me. They say I chose this, as if I dictated a what for mistreatment. Beauty that lies inside does not want to hide. Material beauty relies on what the eye conquers. A black flag with a blue center flies high on his truck. He feels me, but fails to see me. It is the dripping red cherry that buries the pit in the ground. A happiness that is newfound frowns at the hands that are tightening the rope, that are no longer mine, but of a hope. A hope of sundown towns and prom king crowns that drown her cries for consent, are set like those who are bound by others to the grave. If I die by those whose eyes are blinded by white and tripe, bury me with others, for I would be one in a line of many. Thank you.
I'm Isaiah Pelzer. I am not from Philadelphia. I was born here, but I don't live here. I came 25 miles to drive down here today to walk with you all because I care about this, because this is the way that we make change peacefully and show the world that we don't need violence to really make a difference in society. We do this because we want to see a brighter future for everybody who has everyone who is a minority, everyone who gets judged for the color of their skin or where they come from, or their ethnicity and their nationality, and everything that's different about them than what society deems as normal and as acceptable. And that's not okay. And that is what we're here for, to change that, especially in our police system, in our government system, and everything that has regulations and rules against us and against the people who want to see a better future. I went to and still go to a predominantly white high school in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. And it doesn't feel good to feel like an outcast among people who don't see you as equal, but as an exception because you seem more proper than the other black kids that walk amongst you. And that is not okay at all. So I just wanted to personally say I thank every one of you, no matter where you come from, no matter what you're about, no matter who you are. Thank you for being here and walking for everybody here and making a difference peacefully and together in love, because that is what we need to do. Thank you.
We also just wanted to say that if you ordered a shirt, they're up here, and if you'd like to place an order for one, talk to someone in red.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? So I'm a MFA student at Tyler School of Art here in Philly at Temple University. Myself and another artist, Gerald Brown, in town, we made a mural in Strawberry Mansion neighborhood at 33rd and Diamond. You might have seen it. It's Stay Golden. Next weekend, Sunday, August 9th at 1 p.m. we have a march planned from a mural in Brewerytown up 33rd Street to our mural at 33rd and Diamond, and we'd love you guys to come out and join and support. And North Philadelphia is a place that needs a lot of love right now, and there hasn't really been much of the movement that showed up in North Philly right now, and there's a lot of things that need to be taken care of in that community, and we're going to have community leaders and people speaking on the needs of that community, and we would love you guys to come out. We got the West Carlton Drumline that's going to be out there. We're trying to get the Concrete Cowboys out there, so we really want to be an uplifting, really fun, community, empowering event, so we'd love to have you guys out next Sunday. That's it.
We're gonna, in the interest of time, and we know it's really hot, we're gonna move on to our partner remarks. And these are high schools and colleges who have shown us support over the past few weeks. And we're going to start with Baldwin BSU leader Brianna Wright. Brianna, if you're here, can you come? Oh.
Hi, my name is Brianna Wright, and I'm a member of the Baldwin Schools BSU. I can say with complete confidence that our BSU prides itself in cultivating Black excellence through not only educating ourselves, but others in our school community. Through workshops and events, we tackle the biases that plague our school and provide a healthy and safe environment for Black students. We fully support Youth for Black Lives because we believe that our generation is the voice for change. Youth for Black Lives is an organization that cultivates our voices to address the issues we encounter, whether they are systemic, microaggressions, or blatant offenses. We must not only have a voice, we must use it to tell our stories and encourage others to do the same. Youth for Black Lives passes every one of us the mic, encouraging us to take action, to get involved, and to use our resources so that we can educate ourselves and each other on the issues that impact us the most. Our voices matter, our lives matter, and our votes matter. So it's very important that those of you who can vote, get out and vote for this upcoming election. And most importantly, we must support one another. As an ally, we, Baldwin BSU, are proud to support direct action taken by an empowered group fighting against racial injustice. We believe we are stronger together, and it's why we're here, and it's why we should never give up. Thank you.
Okay, so next we're going to hear from a member of the Diversity Alliance from the Haverford School, Keithan.
We expected, but a bit later. So I hope you're all doing okay this fine day. So I'm Keithan Sunivasan. I am the Vice Chair for the Diversity Alliance.
Can't hear you.
We have, can you hear me now? Good. To know that I was oblivious to a lot of the things that have happened within EWI environment as a whole, whether it is within Philly or within the mainline itself. It managed to open a lot of things up for me. My obliviousness came as kind of a shock to think that I would be able to not notice that there's such a discord within our school environment alone, that it almost made me click in such a moment. And as a result of that, we've seen so much more opening up of our communities, most especially our Black community, who have done so much to contribute to our school and to this community as a whole. And I am so grateful for the work that they do, for the amount of excellence that they exude, whether it is in or outside of school. And I will look up to you all as role models, as well as for our alliance in the days to come. And this change, I hope to see in the coming days will be reflected once you all make your way to the polls. Especially if you are 17. Please, please, please remember that your vote can do a lot of things, whether it is on the local or national level. That is one of the most crucial methods of being able to get your voice out there. With that in mind, if you are 17, and if you are eligible to vote within 30 days of this election on November 3rd, go and register at the booth, go and register online, go and see your local county office, get your card, and you can go to the poll and make a change. Let's do more for our communities. They do way more than you think they do. Black lives matter more than anything at this moment. And there's a particular quote in my mother tongue that I can't particularly describe for you explicitly, but it specifically means to us all our towns, everyone is our kin. Everything belongs to each other. These streets are our streets. These streets especially belong to the black people who live here within this city, within this county, within this state, within this country. So please, please always keep that in mind. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have 3 more parting remarks, so please stick with us. So next we're going to have Simone Tate on behalf of, or speaking on behalf of SCH's BSU.
The future for African Americans in Gen Z is very bright. We went from bullying 45 to organizing national marches. We are capable of anything. We can dismantle the systematic oppression rooted down in American history. Each of us can take our own route to make a change. For example, becoming a political figure to actively fight for minority groups, a criminal justice lawyer to serve justice to our people, becoming an entrepreneur to make the black economy more enriched and wealthy, or even a doctor or nurse to end racism in medicine. Even now, you can enforce current demands at your institution to have Black history taught in 9th grade or in early education, so students that say the N-word can no longer be sheltered by their ignorance because they'll know the history behind the word. African American history has to be taught just like we had to be taught European history. The change starts with you. Don't wait around for anyone else to do it. Realize the power your voice has and use it. Thank you.
Okay, next we're gonna have Amber from the Marian Mercy. Yeah, come on, this energy. I know it's hot. I know it's hot. You gotta get it up. Thank you. Amber doesn't look like she's here. Is Black at Westtown here? Yes. Thank you. Black at Westtown.
Hello, my name is Zora Carroll. Can I hear Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Alright, just checking. Alright, so we're Black Lives Matter. We made a page at Westtown School. I'm Zora Carroll. I'm class of 2020. I've just graduated. I'm going to Bonner College of Columbia next year. So another PWI. So we're trying to, in this moment, bring light to our institutional failures, in their approaches to blatant racism and the prejudice environment around Black people and students and faculty at these PWIs that we all attend. And we must fight. We have to fight against the protection of institutions over our children and over ourselves. We are constantly looking out for these administrators, these faculty, these other white students, before we look out for our brown people, before we think about ourselves, the impact it has on our bodies, on a cellular level, on our bodies, on a physical level, what that does to us. To put ourselves last day after day. Every Black student has at one point been owed a teacher's check. We have done the work as educators in our environment, in our students, in our communities, and it is wrong. We are tired. We deserved better. We deserved better. We deserved better, and we deserve better. This cannot go on anymore. Hold your institutions accountable. Hold your people accountable. And please keep fighting the fight. Thank you.
Okay, Tati. Second to last, we're gonna have our Blackbilly Student Alliance.
Yes, Tati!
Good afternoon, y'all. I know it's hot, but stick with me, okay? It's gonna be real quick. My name is Tatiana Roldan. I go to Northeast High School. I'm a part of the BPSA, which is the Black Philly Student Alliance, and I'm just gonna explain basically what that is, okay? The Black Philly Student Alliance is a coalition of current students, parents, alumni, and teachers from across the school district of Philadelphia. Our mission is to disrupt the system that has allowed special admit schools to go from places that mirror the city of Philadelphia's race and class diversity to places curated to perpetuate an elitist image that does not include black and brown students, families, or teachers. Black students face different challenges in all schools in the district.
That's right.
Although the experience in magnet schools are different from neighborhood schools, there is one common factor. We are all suffering black students who want the district to show that they care about our black lives, our black education, and our black experiences. Thank you.
And last but not least, we're gonna have partner remarks from Black at Masterman.
Good afternoon, everybody. I said good afternoon, everybody. My name is Madison Tyler, and I'm the co-owner of Black at Masterman. I just want to congratulate the Youth for Black Lives team for putting together this amazing protest. My message to you all today is short and it's simple. If you are 18, register to vote and be there on November 3rd. And if you can't be there, remember to mail in your vote by October 20th, I believe. Yeah, October 20th. And if you're not old enough to vote, help out with the polling systems and help out with the polling stations. Just get involved, okay? We need our voices to be heard on November 3rd, and we need to show out and show up, okay? Thanks, everyone.
Sorry, I messed up. We have two more. Stick with us. Next, we have Black Lives Matter Philly.
So this August, this Black August, I want to help let people understand what justice really means to us. So I want to be clear. If people are feeling peaceful, that's okay. But if you aren't feeling as peaceful, that's okay too. All of your feelings are valid. If you're feeling rage, if you're feeling fear, if you're feeling anger, those are all valid to feel and to express. And your lives don't matter any less because of the way you express that. No justice? No peace. No racist? No peace. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. And if we don't get it, shut it down. That's what I want to hear. I want y'all to keep that energy. Not just today, but as we continue. My name is Monique. I'm an organizer with BLM Philly. I organize with the Caucus of Working Educators. I'm a co-conspirator with the Racial Justice Organizing Committee and the Melanated Educators Collective. I am also a graduate student at the University of Pennsylvania as a graduate school of education. I'm excited to be here today because we spent an enormous amount of time talking about, and talking around students, but we don't spend enough time actually listening to them. We wouldn't have African American, can y'all hear me? Yes. We wouldn't have African American history in many of the schools in Philadelphia if it were not for students. We wouldn't have Black studies across the nation if it weren't for students. So I know folks think the revolution might not be televised or hashtag, but I want us not to forget that social media is a tool. And if you're talking about working with youth, I want to make sure that folks don't leave here today without connecting with one of the youth organizations. For example, one of the groups we partner with is the Philadelphia Student Union. If you are, shout out to the Student Union, they've been working so hard. 215 Student Union at IG. Make sure you don't leave here today without following or connecting with them. I also want to spend some time talking about strategy as we approach our work towards liberation. I'm going to read part of the opening statement from the Combahee River Collective. of black feminists who have been meeting together since 1974, and during the time that we have been involved in the process of defining and clarifying our politics, while at the same time doing political work within our own group and in coalition with other progressive organizations and movements. The most general statement of our politics at the present time would be that we are actively committed to struggling against racial, sexual, heterosexual, and class oppression, and see as our particular task the development of integrated analysis and practice based upon the fact that the major systems of oppression are interlocking. The synthesis of these oppressions creates the conditions of our lives. And I want to focus on interlocking because if you're not talking about how racism is related to sexism, ableism, transphobia, and classism, I'm not trying to talk to you. I want to talk to you about resistance, struggle, joy, healing, and action. They want us to believe that our struggles are individualistic in nature. Yes. Do you hear me? If they can divide us, they can dismiss us. If racist, transphobic, sexist experiences are not connected, then we feel like we're the problem. Yes. Gaslighting 101. And at Penn, as a student challenged my right to move a chair in a classroom. And I've had and did not know whether or not they wanted to demand, screaming and yelling, whether or not I was a student or a faculty or a staff at the university, because I did not have the right to move chairs. I just want to be clear that this is not a one-time incident. In my first teaching job in Philadelphia, I was working in North Philadelphia. My colleague told me that they were surprised at how intelligent I sounded considering my Southern accent. They want me to believe that racism, sexism, class experiences in schools that I've worked in or at Penn are unique to me. I know they are not because I have talked to others who have been threatened, misgendered in their line of work. Breonna Taylor, Dominique Rennie-Fales, Tony McDade are individual people, but the violence perpetrated against them are not isolated incidents. Collective experiences matter because entrenched systems matter. And believe me when I say under-resourced schools are related to a lack of equity and accountability in taxing and gentrification in Philadelphia. I worked at Bertram High School, Germantown High School, before it was closed, Frankfurt High School, and I'm currently a Penn student. They don't want me to see the connections. They hope that I'll stay quiet. Well, not today. Not today. And if I'm honest, my experiences have only made me more radical as the years go on. They want you to believe that Policy 252 is a policy to support trans and gender nonconforming students in the district, but it gives rights to all the students in the district. When you leave here, if you're not familiar with the demands of the Youth for March for Black Lives, the Racial Justice Organizing Committee, or the Black Philadelphia Radical Collective, look them up. I'm going to ask you to do three things before this week, that are related to those demands. So money. People say we need money for under-resourced schools, where we can get some additional funds. A number of folks mentioned this already. I'm going to reiterate it. Penn for pilots. Period. If you don't know what we're talking about, please follow them on Instagram, Penn for Pilots, and find out why we are asking Penn to put money into an educational equity fund for the district. Write the Philadelphia School Board. Ask them to implement Policy 252 in a rigorous way that includes training for school leaders and all the school staff. Staff can't implement the policy if they're not backed up by their administrators. I also want to spend some time talking about, the last one. I want us to make sure that we write the school board and demand that they develop a plan for more equitable hiring, recruitment, and retention of black educators. And you want to know where they can start? They can start by paying paraprofessionals a living freaking wage. And they can offer pathways for teaching certification if they're looking for teachers. There's a lot about talk about Black Lives Matter, and I believe awareness and visibility are important, but so is action. The school district finally agreed to sign on to the Black Lives Matter Week of Action at schools.
Finally.
Let's make sure that they prove it. Thank you.
I know I said this is like a third speaker, or our last speaker like 3 times, but this is actually our last speaker. We're gonna have remarks from Black Interact alumni.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Raise your fist if you believe Black Lives Matter. We are the Black Interact Alumni Association, and we are here for the youth. We believe in everything that you guys are saying, but most of all, we want you to believe in yourself. You have the ability to create these changes you speak of. We're going to hear from Anaya next. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me well? Awesome. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you all for being out here. Just as a person who belongs to various groups in terms of education and in youth, it's just really beautiful to see all of this come together. So thank you for being out here. I'm going to read a few excerpts from our petition and keep it moving. So because it's really hot out here. Yeah. The murders of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Rayshard Brooks, George Floyd, and countless others, in conjunction with Amy Cooper's weaponization of white privilege and the violence against Black LGBTQ people, have brought our nation to a breaking point requiring action. People around the world have come together to protest and denounce white supremacy and police brutality. The police serve as just one example of the physical and fatal manifestations of our racist American institutions. However, racism bleeds in every facet of our lives, including the education system. Our society can no longer withstand the trauma of institutional racism that has a metaphorical chokehold on the necks of Black Americans. As our nation faces a reckoning of this sordid history of systemic racism, it has become clear that Interact and independent schools in the Philadelphia area have a legacy of failing Black students. We, the Interact and Independent School Black Alumni Association, are speaking up in support of current students and parents to demand institutional change. Schools have a legal responsibility to ensure your faculty, staff address racial harassment and hostility. They also have a moral duty to prepare the next generation of leaders and to protect the spirit and the mere existence of your current students. This requires both the competency to respond to racist incidents from an anti-racist perspective and also the courage to directly address incidents of racial hostility and microaggressions. This does not mean looking for a both sides solution. This means understanding the weight and legacy of 401 years of systemic inequity. This means understanding that our ancestors were not slaves, but were enslaved human beings. This means understanding Black people love being Black. This means understanding Black people have a legacy of brilliance, achievement, and success despite what they have endured. This means understanding that people of color are not the same as Black people.
Thank you.
In fact, racial bias against Black people is often perpetuated by other minorities.
Thank you.
These important principles are simply the baseline to allow Black students to comfortably breathe. Schools provide the context for a child's first relationship with the world outside of their families, and thus are instrumental in changing discriminatory attitudes and behaviors. We have the power to change our schools, but we also have the power to change society as a whole. And today, I encourage you all to do so. Thank you.
So, I want to invite you all to come in a little bit and do one last chant with us so we can close. Thank you so much for coming out to support us You heard our voice, and you're helping us break the cycle. It's really important stuff. We needed change. We needed change 400 plus years ago. And this is just, I was actually doing an interview for this event, and I think the question was something about like a single moment, and I was like, this isn't a single moment like a lot of our other speakers were saying. This is one really, really small picture from the whole vacation, okay? This isn't even a vacation, not even close to it, okay? This is one moment, and we are gonna keep doing this until we actually see the change that we want.
Change that we deserve. Thank you so much for coming.
So, everyone, we want fists up. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Thank you. Now let's turn up the DJ
DJ Roman, DJ Bobby Cat, Jersey, another one that hits. Let's go. Just wiggle on up for me. Let's wiggle. Wiggle on up for me. Let's wiggle. 2 steps to the front. 2 steps in the front. 2 steps in the front. 2 steps in the front. Slow motion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put a little more swing. Let's go. Wait. Put the thumb to the nose. Let's go. Go ski. Is she ugly? Come on. Is he ugly? Bring him out. Rock your boots. Let's go!